Today we're going to talk about respectability politics.
This is a world. This is a world premiere. This is a world.
Respectability politics, or the politics of respectability, refers to people from marginalized groups policing their own members to ensure that their values appear to be continuous and compatible with mainstream values instead of challenging the mainstream as being non-accepting of others. Now, interestingly enough, respectability politics, as far as I know, is something that shows up in communities of color, or the Black community specifically, with Black people basically trying to behave according to the values of white people so that they won't be seen as, ignorant. I remember being in the store or being out in public with my mom as a child and her constantly reminding us that we had to behave because white people already thought that Black people were ignorant. Or if you think about the way that African Americans might have to train their young people on how to behave out in the streets so that they won't be targeted by the police and end up, being harassed or, even worse, end up being shot. There's a lot of interest in monitoring the behavior of other YouTubers so that they don't do anything that, gives vegans a bad name. I made a video recently inspired by Vegan Just, who had made a video called, calling vegans meat eaters, right? And that was that whole thing about vegan name calling, which really was just about what are some of the names that are used to describe people who choose to eat meat. And that had a really lively discussion, and a lot of that had to do with considering the feelings of people who eat meat. So they obviously won't think that, vegans are, aggressive or, crazy. And I hate to use that term crazy because who gets to even define what it means to be crazy? I commented on Vegan Just channel. I said, thanks for this video. I call people who consume animal products consumers of animal products. I don't like the term meat because it obscures the fact that it was once a living being that was murdered to provide that moment of pleasure in the mouth of the consumer. If it makes the person uncomfortable to be called what they are, then they should not be comfortable engaging in the behavior. And so Vegan Just got back to me saying, that's one way to look at it, but honestly, I never made anyone go vegan by being pragmatic or treating them in a way they don't want to be treated. So I'd rather stick to what has worked for me, which is being patient and understanding. Thanks for the perspective, though it was very interesting. And so, just that, again, the approach is if we're nice and patient, then eventually people will come around, and somehow it's the behavior of the vegan that is going to make the difference in how someone, comes to an understanding of what it means to not be cruel to animals and eat them. I also made a post on Radu Gandea's channel, and it was about someone wearing leather, and I basically said that looking at that person in that leather jacket, to me, makes them, look like, a real douchebag. It's a vegan channel, so I felt like it was a safe space just to express my feelings about seeing this person, preening and modeling themselves in this leather jacket. And so this was the response I got. Because the channel is a huge resource for men's style and fitness, it gives really good advice as well as being a business. When you are in the face of a business, especially in an industry where leather is widespread, you shouldn't dive into polarizing discussions such as veganism. Anything which creates a stir is bad for your image. I wouldn't say he looks bad in the jacket because the jacket is made of leather or because you think he is a douchebag. Let's not commit ad hominem here. Also, he's really not a douchebag. If you want to know, you can watch a video called My Darkest Days, and even in normal videos, he acts genuine and charismatic. I completely agree with your outlook on leather, but it doesn't mean we should disconsider people who like wearing leather. Now, see, here's again, this person, instead of saying, wow, I understand your feeling about watching this person in leather. It would be interesting if we could find ways to address the issue of people who want to wear animal flesh as clothing. But instead what he says is, no, this person is not a bad person. And I see this happen all the time when it comes to people being racist and being homophobic on YouTube. But I had never really considered this in terms of vegans policing other vegans and their behavior. Is there a way that vegans can behave that will make the general public like us? So I think a lot of it is not even about getting the general public to like vegans, but just to get the general public not to think vegans are aggressive and somehow, crazy. Dr. Melanie Joy, who's done a lot of work on the psychology of carnism, points to the fact that people who choose to consume meat have bought into a fallacy that the consumption of animals or the use of animals the way they are in the animal commodities industry is normal, it is natural, and it is necessary. And if you think about it, vegans are automatically a challenge to one of those fallacies, the idea that consuming animals is necessary. What really happens is, by questioning the necessity of the consumption of meat, there is a likelihood that they will start to question the normalcy and the naturalness of consuming meat. It also, I think, has something to do with the cognitive dissonance that's already present in people who are consuming meat. I think that people who consume animal products, who consume animal flesh, are people who generally feel that they like animals, maybe even love animals, maybe even have pets that they care for. And I think that they're generally people who embrace nonviolence. Here, they are engaged in and supporting this incredibly violent institution that harms 56 billion animals a year, not even including fish and other aquatic life forms. When you look at it on a systemic level, vegans are a huge challenge to a dominant cultural ideology that is the linchpin of this huge industry. And there's obviously a lot of power in that industry, and there's a lot of money at stake. So these industries will never embrace veganism, and they certainly will do everything in their power to fight veganism and fight the dissemination of information that vegans have at their disposal. So vegans do some of that work for the dominant culture when we try to silence the voices of vegans who want to call things out, want to call things what they are, and instead try to adjust our language so that it is more palatable to a non-vegan audience. So what are your thoughts? Do you see respectability politics operating in the vegan YouTube community or in other areas of your life? I would love to hear what you think. That's it for this video. Like it if you like it, share, comment, subscribe. This is Reg signing off. Love yourself. Peace.
And I love myself. The world is a ghetto with big guns and dick inside.